What's up? It's me back again, Analog Attack. I'll give you a warm welcome to episode 6 of Peace of Maiden. Of course, Chris Corry is back with me again. How you doing, mate?
All right.
2006, and it's a matter of life and
Death.
death.
I had to take a sip of water.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this episode, actually. I think you've got some opinions that I'm interested in.
What do we got on the cover there? I don't have. This is one that I do not have a copy of.
Okay, that's okay. I have it. We'll talk about this in much more detail as we go along. But as usual, before we get going, we've got to take ourselves back to 2006 and what was going on.
Take me back.
Let's go back to 2006. I've got a little stack. Unfortunately, no High on Fire today.
Really?
No.
I could have sworn.
But Enslaved did put out a record.
Okay.
But I don't have it. Rune.
Huh.
I have it on vinyl. So sorry, all you Enslaved fans out there. So let's get to it. Dark Throne. The Cult is Alive.
Oh, yes. I remember this.
Kind of a similar color scheme, wouldn't you?
Yeah, very murky looking.
Right? There's a theme here. I tell you.
Very murky time.
Another dark album. Celtic Frost.
That might be album of the year for 2006.
Dark. Another dark album.
But it is, yeah, very murky.
Murky and dark. Grey. Grainy. My best mate's Napalm Death came out with Smear Campaign.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. Didn't come out on vinyl originally, but it eventually did a bit later. Smear Campaign. Voivod, with their kind of revamped lineup with Jason Newsted, came out with.
How do you say that? Caters?
14. It means it's 14, right, in French. I think so.
I didn't know that.
Love it. Big fan of this album. And then, now, I want to hear your opinion about this band. I'm intrigued.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think I've ever heard them. I've just seen their fan base.
Man, honestly, a lot of people say that this band could be like the next Iron Maiden in terms of like a huge heavy metal band that really breaks through into the big time.
They must be big in Europe, right?
They're pretty big in Europe, but they're not at that kind of level yet. But kind of epic, proper heavy metal band. Amon Amarth, and with Odin on our side. I'm a big fan. Another dark album from England. My Dying Bride. Not one of the best, but really.
This is another band. These guys are always working.
Yeah, a line of Deathless Kings, more darkness, more gloomy murkiness going on the cover. And then
very little color.
This is probably the darkest and depressing album of the whole year. Comes from Up Your Way.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Even that album cover. I haven't seen any red or blue or green on any of these. Everything's
it's all brown and like weird color palettes. Very dark year. So I think Iron Maiden's artwork fits in with the year.
Yeah. I'm afraid so.
Yeah.
So
you want to start off with the artwork? You want to have a
show me that artwork again? What am I looking at?
Okay, so this is
it's a bunch of soldier eddies, I guess.
No, when I had the original, like the Japanese CD, which I had before, I thought that Eddie was like this was Eddie. I thought that was but it's actually like here. It's him here, like
okay,
leading the sort of skeleton soldiers.
Yeah.
Battle the gateposts, I think, to write home about. And then you got like,
that's a much like the Final Frontier.
Yeah. But it
looks like it belongs on the back of a truck.
It's kind of clean, and I'm like, this is kind of clean. It's not too bad, but on this reissue, it's really crisp. Like you can see a lot of detail in it. And it's done by a guy called Tim Bradstreet, American guy. Did Hellblazer and Punisher comics, if you're familiar with those. I'm not.
Tim Bradstreet, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. Wow.
Well, but the thing with it, Chris, I think maybe his original artwork might have been okay, but like his colorist partner, this guy called Grant Golish, finished it. He kind of messed about with it, and then it was retouched by Peacock Designs UK. So who knows what they did to it? So I'm kind of interested to see what.
I would look at a pencil sketch,
Tim,
or not sketch, but finished pencils.
Like, there's a bit of a story actually behind this. But yeah, so it's Tim Bradstreet's original artwork kind of got messed about with a little bit. Okay. I know you don't like it. You kind of said it's all like just brown, right? Brown.
It reflects. It actually reflects the sound of the album to me quite nicely.
But Chris, don't you think it looks a little bit like this?
Yeah, you know what? I had never thought of that.
This will come up again actually in another episode.
The exact same color palette.
It's kind of. I mean, look, you can't tell them apart.
You know, if I listen to them, I can tell them apart because
yes, that much is true.
One is amazing.
And then I thought I'd like kind of try and cheer you up a little bit because there's another band that had like a kind of tank themed album in the same.
Go ahead.
The CD version actually was a little bit earlier, but this version, the vinyl version, came out in 2006. So we could have got this. Are you ready? So, which do you want?
What is wrong with you?
Which do you want? This or this? Neither, right?
I don't know. Yeah, it's tough to choose.
I'm just trying to like win you over on this.
Well, you know what? It's not the worst Iron Maiden album art.
Okay, we'll get to that probably in another episode.
Yeah, awfully soon.
Awfully soon. Okay, so that's that. That's the artwork. So what's your relationship with this album? When did you buy it? When did you first hear it? Remember?
I've never purchased a copy of it.
Oh.
I streamed it quite a bit this week.
Okay.
And the week before that too. I remember when it came out. This is the third of the Bruce.
That's right.
Bruce and Adrian comeback albums.
Yeah.
Like Maiden albums don't really get bad reviews anymore, so I don't remember it being reviewed poorly or anything.
Well,
but
you know what? Metal Hammer gave it a 10 out of 10, and it said that they've utterly surpassed themselves, and it's a riveting album, and they gave it a 10 out of 10.
And, this is what's wrong with music journalism.
Because of that, I went off and asked some Iron Maiden fans about their opinion of this record and tour, which I'll read out a bit later. Because I don't,
I just remember that it seemed like treading water a little bit. But then at the same time, the band seemed like incredibly proud of it.
Well, we'll get to it, but that's how proud of it they were. Yeah. They played.
That's really it.
Yeah. So for me, I was in a record shop in Osaka, not a metal shop, just a normal old-fashioned record shop, and they got a little metal section, and then the original. Now, everyone probably knows, but like all these albums came out on like the picture disc, right? Originally, and it was just sat there, and it kind of, I didn't know it was a picture disc actually. Bought it. Took it home, and honestly, it's probably one of the worst sounding records. There's just like inner groove distortion like through the whole of the record, and it just sounded terrible. So I pretty much couldn't play it. But I was kind of intrigued, so I went out and got like a Japanese CD of it, and then still really couldn't get into it. Same as Final Frontier, it's like the same thing. And then I sold it, and then I bought this one, like a different Japanese CD, and then eventually I bought this. It's the Parlophone 2017 reissue, which is the best sounding of probably every pressing of this album.
All of these albums were redone between like 2015 and 2017 on hard vinyl for the first time, because they had all been pictured. I think even going back to maybe X Factor, I'm not sure that there was a non-picture disc pressing of anything after that.
I don't know what they were thinking. They all sound absolutely terrible. So, I would recommend, if anyone's into vinyl and hasn't got these like Parlophone or BGM pressings, these are the ones to get. I think they're probably the best sounding you're going to get. Yeah. So that was me with that. And obviously for this episode, I've been digging deep into it, and you'll find out my opinions as we go along through the episode. But I was talking about the sound. I think you've got a bit to say about the production on
well because there's like actually a story on this one. So this is the third Kevin Shirley production.
Yes,
it is, it's not super different from Brave New World or Dance of Death before it. It just production wise, what they're going for, his method with them is always that they play the songs together live. They do a whole bunch of takes, sometimes at different parts, and then he chops all those takes together and sort of like cobbles the tracks together out of them, which is a fine way to work. Something in the process happened where they finished the album, they tried to master it, and no one was happy with any of the mastering. And so when the album originally came out, one of the like talking points in press material was that the album was unmastered, and Iron Maiden is giving you a raw window into exactly what they heard in the studio. Nothing has been changed or limited or adjusted or compressed.
Yeah, there's a quote from Kevin Shirley, said, "Spoke to Harry on Friday, decided against mastering it. You'll get to hear the new album exactly as it sounded in the studio. No added EQ, compression, analog widening. And I must say, I'm pretty happy with the end result." That was what Kevin Shirley said.
This is total kayfabe. This is salesmanship.
Yeah.
So look, the album sounds fine, but to my ears, listening to it in the past couple of weeks, it sounds to me like everything was already like really very compressed before it even got to the mastering stage. My suspicion, and I'm just an amateur, I've recorded some bands, but I'm not a professional, and I certainly wasn't there with them, so I'm not trying to overblow my credentials here, but based on what I hear, it sounds like everything was already like very compressed, very limited. And when they took it to go to that mastering stage, it was just probably causing everything to sound distorted and too squished. And someone was just like, someone somewhere just said, look, the album has to come out at a certain time, pick a master. We've already done a few. And someone just said, why don't we issue it unmastered? It sounds finished as is.
Yeah.
And it does. Like, which just goes to show you on some of these like big budgety kind of produced albums, like it's already overcooked by the time it gets to the final stage. It doesn't really matter. Does it sound good? Not really to me.
Well, I'm going to mention this just once more, but like honestly, after just hearing those picture discs and those two Japanese CDs, this like really bursts out of the speakers, this Parlophone. But
these hard vinyl reissues really all do sound good. They're because I think the picture disc things were mainly made as like collector's pieces. Like the diehard Maiden fans are gonna buy them and hang them on their wall. Nobody cares what they sound like.
They're already expensive in the used market now. It's insane.
But you know what? All these ones from 2017 are already going for like $50.
Yeah, really?
If you see them, get them, especially if they're on markdown.
Yeah,
because I imagine they're going to go out of print.
I think
And
I haven't heard like every CD. There's like tons of CD, different whatever, but like this for me is the one to get. I would say Parlophone 2017. But with that said, before I'd read that comment quote that I just read out, I thought this was like the most like synthetic sounding Iron Maiden album. And then I read that and it was like, well, it's just raw in the studio. And I was like, no, there's no way that that's like raw in the studio, right? Without mastering. And the
early 2000s,
guitars are really watery. Is that
like
if that makes sense? Like just
I would call them chewy.
chewy.
And I usually like when they sound chewy to me, it's when, and I talked about this a little bit last time, when they're probably using an amp simulator, which it just means they can plug into the computer and they have some software that can simulate the sound of a real amplifier. And it means that nobody has to worry about like the real amplifier blowing up or the knobs getting jogged from day to day, or maybe they don't even have to worry about like getting a sound for the amplifier in the studio. You just plug in and your technician can dial up every vintage amplifier later.
Right.
And it's close, but it's a little chewy.
Yeah, chewy, nice word. I like that. So I didn't want to rely on just like Metal Hammer reviews and everything. So I thought I'd go to the Iron Maiden fan club and ask around and see what people thought of this album and the tour when it came out. So I think it's interesting, actually. Do you want to have a little listen to some like real Iron Maiden fans?
Tell me.
You know, this is not Metal Hammer, or these are like real Iron Maiden fans, and these are their opinions. So, greatest tour ever. They played the whole album at the show in Illinois. Couldn't ask for a better show or album. So no, that's one opinion. A masterpiece from start to finish. This is obviously about the album. I have it in my top 6 Maiden albums. The tour is incredible. I think this is a top 5 Maiden album. A lot of fans moaned about playing it all, but I loved it. We will never see it done again like this. Good. Brilliant idea by Maiden. Played the whole album live. Almost fell asleep. There you go. This one is in my top 3. Awesome album, awesome tour. Took my 14-year-old son to his first Iron Maiden concert in Birmingham, NEC. My favorite Iron Maiden album. My favorite second Bruce Adrian stint album, Classic Tour. Loved that they played the whole thing. This is great. I threw it in the garbage along with all the other Maiden albums not made in the 80s. Saw them in Paris, good album. Best song for me is For the Greater Good of God. Saw them twice on the 2 nights on the trot. I've never, ever been so pleased to hear Fear of the Dark. So these are real, like on the ground comments from people who were there, bought the album, Iron Maiden fans, not journalists. So, there you go.
I remember that tour going around, and I don't think I didn't.
Okay.
And I don't think a lot of people, but I knew people that went and they were not aware of what the set list was supposed to be.
Yeah, I would have been really annoyed.
I mean, okay, look, they played the whole album from start to finish before playing anything else. It's not even like it was broken up in the set. I don't think. I think it was just.
I've got the set list actually. They changed it up a little bit.
Okay.
Let's have a quick look at it. So, this is the first leg in 2006. So they played the whole album, and then Fear of the Dark. That's what that guy was saying, right? I've never been so happy to hear Fear of the Dark. And then Iron Maiden, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Evil That Men Do, and then Hallowed Be Thy Name. That was like 2006. And then in 2007, they kind of changed it up a little bit. So you've got Different World, Colors Don't Run, Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, then Rothschild, Trooper, Benjamin Bree, Greater Good of God, Number of the Beast, Fear of the Dark, Run to the Hills, Iron Maiden, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Evil That Men Do, Hallowed Be Thy Name. So I think the 2007 second leg set list is not too bad, actually.
The general way that they roll as far as these like the new album tours is like 5 or 6 new songs
Right.
and 8 to 10 classics,
Yeah.
which I think is fine because they do put some work into these new albums. And also, every tour they do a lot of work on the stage gags,
Right.
and the gimmicks,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
so I accept that
Yeah.
they because they do go all out to come up with a presentation for these
Yeah.
new songs. um but Jesus Christ, playing, I mean, it's a 70-minute album. It's not like, uh I mean,
Yeah.
Number of the Beast is 40 minutes. Like, if they
Right.
played all of a 40-minute album, okay.
It's funny, Chris, because as I've been listening to like this one and Final Frontier and on the Book of Souls, you go back and listen to like Killers, and it's almost over before you've got back to your chair.
Yeah.
But there's so much in that 40 minutes, though. We talked a little bit about that in the last episode, but there's like so much in just that 38 or 40 minutes.
Well, and that's really that's like the Achilles heel of the modern Maiden is
yeah, yeah,
is that.
yeah.
I don't know, the tour. I mean, after that was when they did the Somewhere Back in Time tour,
Right.
and I feel like that was sort of like a almost an apology, although they had done hits tours before that. But yeah, I don't know. It's 70 minutes of a new album. By all accounts, they thought that they had hit this like great achievement with this album. It was sort of like Brave New World was the transition back. Dance of Death was like, I don't really know that they have like good feelings about Dance of Death, and I feel like their feeling was like, this is like, all right, like this 6-piece lineup of the band is fully realized, and we are gonna share it all. We worked so hard on this,
And
and
it's a kind of brave decision. And I was talking to someone the other day, and they were kind of saying, you've kind of got to give them a little bit of respect for not just resting on, all the old classics. But it's a little bit punishing for fans. But you've seen the comments from people that were there.
I would counter. I gotta say, man,
Mm-mm.
2 things. One, it's a brave decision to do it, but you should make sure that your audience is completely aware. Like, when you sell them that ticket, because Iron Maiden shows aren't cheap. People take off work, people save up their bucks to get good seats to go see it. So if you're going to give them an hour plus of music that either they've never heard or just came out, you need to let them know. That's just being cool.
Yeah,
You
I
should.
wasn't there at the time, but do you think like word started to spread around the country? Like,
I kind of think it did, but like Setlist FM, I don't think was really like a thing back then.
Right.
So now you can just go and look and see what the tour is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I already knew the set list, what was going to be in Osaka before. It's kind of spoiled it a little bit in a way, but I'm just thinking, was word starting to get around, and did people start like asking for refunds or anything like that? I don't know.
Well, the other thing I feel is like, okay, you're a legacy band and you don't just want to like rest on the same hits every time.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But also, like, you do have a responsibility to your fans. Again, like I said, like, people are taking off work. People are choosing to go to your show instead of like another expensive concert. Like, I'm not saying you have to do Number of the Beast straight through every night. You have a huge swath of hits.
So many songs that
many songs. Find a way to give back to the fans. Or just be like, hey, we're gonna do smaller theaters and we're only gonna do new songs on this tour. But it seemed like there were people who were misled by this tour,
right?
And I don't think it was intentional or anything, but like, it's a little messed up. It's a bummer if you've been looking forward to that all for months, and you get there and you hear 5 songs that you've heard before.
So was it like after that that they decided to sort of do the Legacy of the Beast and all those tours to kind of make it?
Well, I think there's a Ozfest that they did a whole leg up, maybe the whole tour that summer in 2005, 2004, 2005, I think. I'm a little hazy on the date.
Right.
And that tour was like all first four LPs stuff, which is pretty wild because they had Bruce singing a lot of Paul stuff. And this is after they had a couple new albums out. So I think that was like really the first one. Other than there was a tour when Bruce came back, the Ed Hunter tour in '99, and they hadn't done Brave New World yet, but he was already back with Adrian.
Right.
And those set lists and those shows are actually really good and interesting because they sound fired up to have the guys back, but also they're still playing a bunch of Blaze songs in the set and then just everything from the whole catalog. So it's like a really wide survey of the band up to that point, and the sets are long and they sound excited to be there. So that doesn't really count because they hadn't put out any new music in a couple years at that point, but those are the ones that come to mind before that. But then after this tour, it's like every other tour is a hits tour. So it's like they did this tour and then they did the Somewhere Back in Time tour. Then they did the Final Frontier tour, and then they did the Made in England tour.
Right.
Book of Souls tour, and then they did the Legacy of the Beast tour. And that's COVID is here now, so we haven't had anything since the Legacy of the Beast tour.
The one that I had to that didn't happen in Osaka. Yeah.
And I think they are going to finish that up before the new album is issued. So
I hope they come back here. I really want to see him again. I've only seen him twice. It's so long ago.
Yeah, and the last time was 39 years ago.
Yeah, 1982. So it'd be nice to see him one more time. I was really looking forward to that. Actually, really excited about it. But what do you do? So 70 minutes.
Ugh.
Are we ready?
Let's go.
Run through of the album. So
what's the name of this first song?
Different World. I believe it's the theme tune to the sitcom Different World. I like it, but I like
Different World. The TV show is much better than this song.
There's an actual show called Different World. Oh.
Yeah. It was a spinoff of the Cosby Show, where the kid goes to college, and it was a great show. This song, I didn't even write the title. I just wrote their worst. I think this might be their worst song in the entire catalog.
I like it so much. I bought the picture disc.
I'm sure it sounds fantastic, Mike.
It doesn't. It sounds terrible. It sounds great on the phonograph reissue album, but it sounds terrible here. But man, I don't know. Like, it's upbeat, peppy.
The chorus of this song sounds like Three Doors Down or something. This is the most awful, putrid, cloying melody I've ever heard in my life.
I like the layered vocals in the chorus, but what I don't like about this song, this is a pretty heavy, dark, serious album about war and religion. They start the album off with like Nico's like stupid little whatever he does.
Yeah,
get rid of that. This should have been like had a short like atmospheric intro, maybe some like gunfire, like war sound effects. I don't anything. I don't know why they kept that stupid little Nico's thing in there.
I just think it's a weird song to have on the album. And if you're making this album, why does the first song? It sounds like the intro to a sitcom from the 90s.
Yeah.
The chorus. I read somewhere that they thought this was like. I think Adrian might have said this was like their Thin Lizzy song, and I want to know what Thin Lizzy records they're like.
No,
I've even heard like the Black Star Riders records, which is just like Scott Gorham and Ricky Warwick.
Yeah.
And even those sound more like Thin Lizzy than this.
This is Marmite. You either love it or hate it.
It is the worst song they've recorded with Bruce, period, as far as I'm concerned.
Cool. Short though. It's only like 4.
Yeah, thank God. The only short song on the record.
It's the only short song on the record. So we get that out of the way. Then we go into These Colors Don't Run.
Yep.
6 minutes 52 seconds. Got the atmospheric intro, which is actually almost a minute long. Then it goes into that mid-paced groove. There's some nice guitar work going on. But then, and now this is what I don't like, it goes into that kind of Wicker Man kind of part where, you know, that everyone's like jumping up and down in unison.
That is a thing. I think it goes back to Fear of the Dark, where they started having that bouncing part, and they realized that I imagine it goes over great in stadiums.
I was watching the Wicker Man the other day, and I just knew, okay, here we go, and everyone starts bouncing up and down, and like
it feels very 90s / aughts to me. And I think there's a bunch of stuff on this album where I don't think they're intentionally trying to be contemporary, but it's stuff like that where it like really dates it to a time in a way that I don't like.
But it's weird because it has that like jumping up and down part, but then it goes into this kind of really good like proggy transition around 3 minutes with the cheap keyboards, but I think it still works.
I like this song better than most of the songs on the album. It's got some stupid, like quasi patriotic lyrics.
Yeah, we were talking before, weren't we, about like
I didn't read the lyrics, but I'm sure I wouldn't like them that much.
Yeah.
This is though overall. This is what when I think of like the Brave New World style and like what, you know, some people call it the Blaze style because it was really like first heard on the albums with Blaze, but it really like it follows that template. Like it's about 7 minutes. It has a long intro. It never really like shifts above third gear.
I do like that kind of proggy transition. Then it goes into guitar solo, but the second guitar solo. Remember you were saying about like on The Angel and the Gambler, that kind of like synthesized saxophone. The first like couple of notes in the second solo on that song sound like that, just a couple of notes, and then it just kind of goes into like a kind of normal guitar sound, but it's just really jarring sound.
Something weird happens on it.
But you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and then we go into Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, which always reminds me of this.
There he is.
Killing joke in here somewhere. But you know, this song has like various parts to it. Like I kind of like all of the sections of this song actually.
Except, you were speaking positively of this song.
It wasn't quite up there with what's the name of that song that I love? Star. That one from the
oh yeah, what is that song called?
The one that my favorite song.
We liked it. We both liked it.
From
Starblind.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound like that song, and I don't like it as much as that song. It could have been as good as that, but it's not. But so the chorus is really quiet, right? When you sing the chorus, like it's kind of quiet. But I kind of like it though. And then, but then there's that chugging riff, which I'm not. Shaking his head. I'm not too keen on, but this is the part that reminds me of that other song from Final Frontier when Bruce sings like a strange love is born, unholy union, like Trinity Reformed. Like that refrain is the hairs are kind of almost standing up on the back.
This song to me sounds like Tool. But it sounds like Tool with like, you know, without the paradiddles or whatever, but it's basically built like a Tool song. It's very long. There's like a low chugging thing going
844
through. There's like the somebody is just like playing like a down tuned. It's probably Adrian
I don't
because
like
that's what he did. It's terrible. And then I don't like the high lead either. Again, kind of reminds me of Tool, and starting like actually with the Wicker Man, they start doing the high leads that are kind of supposed to remind you of Iron Maiden, but they're always like a little bit too simple and kind of new metal-y by
Yeah,
accident.
yeah.
Yeah, this is just like a total miss for me. It's a little bit
Okay.
catchy, but yeah, it sounds like it just sounds like they've been playing too many European festivals. You know, like
Trivium
too
or
many, yeah, Trivium and Catatonia and
didn't
stuff.
Trivium like didn't they?
Trivium opened for them on this tour.
There you go. Oh man, my instincts were correct. Yeah, yeah. But
Um,
anyway, that's like the first side of the album.
yep.
Uh, so yeah. So then we move into side two. I think you're gonna like the Pilgrim, aren't you?
Eh. This is the one that starts with like the Run DMC like rap
Well,
beat.
I put like a little bit Jack Sparrow meets Braveheart again. Like,
So I do like that first Jack Sparrow riff.
that
That's
one, yeah, that
nice.
one.
You know, you're like, oh, Dave Murray's here. That's nice.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
even know
pretty
if he has a
catchy.
credit on the side. I
Like
don't think he does, but it's that riff makes me think of Dave Murray's Smile. Uh the rest of the song, the hook is again very cloying.
a little bit.
And it just, I don't know. Like one thing I like about this song is that it's not as long as the last song.
Yeah, it's a little shorter. It's 5 minutes and 7 seconds. Uh, but I think it's kind of like the most like heavy metal song on the album.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's pretty streamlined. Doesn't
but the thing is, like
much.
on I think every other Maiden album of the reunion era, there's at least like a couple songs where I'm like, you know what I want to listen to is that one song from, you know, whatever. And I don't think this would even like qualify for that
Do you
on
have
this album.
do you have any from this album that you're a big fan of? We're giving the game away a little bit if I say that. Nah.
Let's keep going and I'll
All right, let's
decide.
keep going. Okay, so we go into the
The
longest
longest
day.
day, just how this album
There
feels
are
when you
longer
listen to
days.
it.
There are longer days on this album,
Yeah,
but
it's actually not even in the top 3 longest songs, but
no, I like the atmospheric intro, and it's not too long. And actually, like the verses have quite a menacing feel to them, but not so much in the refrain and chorus. It's a little bit happy sounding, but there's a bit I like actually. It's about 4 minute mark. Kind of harkens back a little bit to older era Iron Maiden. The transition in there. There's some semi decent twin leads in that passage.
they just this album's a perfect example where it's 70 minutes or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and they barely take advantage of the classic Maiden lead thing. And
Right.
I said last time, I don't know if they avoid it because they think like, oh no, we don't have to do that trick anymore. But it's like, why wouldn't you do it? Why would they not think that we just want to hear Dave and Adrian play the same thing in fifths or thirds or anything else? Like this song to me, it's in the inspirational Maiden territory where it sounds like the musical version of like an inspirational quote poster. In that way, it kind of reminds me of Coming Home, which you didn't like, but
Right.
I think Coming Home I enjoyed somehow, but this I just find like
Right.
very grating. And then it also it has this. I actually drew a sad face next to it on the list here, but the every syllable is like this. Like he just can't. You know, okay, think about a song like The Prisoner where those verses he's like, I'm on the run, I'll kill it. You know, like he if he sang that song the way he sings these songs, it would be 10 minutes long. It's just every line is just Bruce showing us his range and showing us how long he can extend and hold a note, and it makes it feel so long. And
Yeah,
then just
I know.
yeah, I don't know.
I
This song has nothing for me.
I just tried to pick out a few, a couple of positive things that
I know you did. Well, you're an optimist, Mike.
The Optimist, that's not on this album.
Yeah, that could be on the next album.
Yeah. So, then we go into Out of the Shadows, which is the most ballady of the songs on the album. It's my friend Andy Dempster. He works out to this song at the gym. Not sure why, but there's a
I think
little.
this song's all right, actually.
It's not well. There's actually a little bit because it's got the acoustic guitars, right? Strumming.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost. If you kind of close your eyes and squint a little bit, you can almost go back to Prodigal Son. No? Yeah. Well, I mean,
Almost. I think this is another one that really exemplifies the Brave New World sound. Where it fits that template really well. It's a good example of it. I feel okay about it because it doesn't have anything that like stands out as irritating to me. But again, we're getting all these long songs with acoustic breaks and like long histrionic vocal moments, and it's like if I don't know, if all you eat is like birthday cake, then like it's not gonna taste like anything after a while. And if all you do is like the same, everything's at 10 all the time, it's like what like how am I supposed to differentiate like, Brighter Than a Thousand Suns from a couple of the songs that are coming up?
right.
It just it's so samey, and it's what makes me so much more down on it than I might be if it were a lesser band is it's like this is like one of the most capable bands of all time.
I was going to bring it up at some point. Actually, we are kind of holding them to kind of really high standards, aren't we? Like if an unknown band came out with this record, we wouldn't be so harsh on it, right?
I don't think so. Or if even a band that had not had a winning streak like Maiden did in the 80s. I mean, really like undisputed winning streak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like not a lot happens in some of these songs.
I agree. So I just
and for how long they run, like why not?
I know. And so like after that we get the Reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg, which was the first single.
Yeah.
And they put it out on a 10-inch, and then there's like different versions, like the American one, and they have like different B-sides and stuff. But I actually had that, got rid of it. But like
this song's okay.
Yeah, like well, I didn't like it as a standalone single, but like sandwiched between Out of the Shadows and the song that comes next, it's quite enjoyable.
Like, yeah, you're like, oh, this is just a jaunty what is it, 7 minute just a quick 7 minutes of my life.
7 minutes. Yeah, it's not bad.
They sound like they are enjoying playing this song. I wrote it's fine.
There you go.
Now the next song
we have to kind of ask why that was in the set lists during the Legacy of the Beast tour. I mean, we can't ask them personally why, but we could scream out into the wind. Why?
This song is For the Greater Good, Oh God.
That's it. It's the longest song on the album.
9.5 minutes.
2 minutes intro. And then it goes into that sort of generic kind of modern heavy metal riff and groove, and then it just meanders on.
The chorus is actually stuck in my head right now, and very annoying. Very annoying that that's happened.
It's not stuck in mine because I have Brighter Than a Thousand Suns stuck in mine. So
it's an okay hook, but I mean, we can just deconstruct it here. First of all, it's definitely like a Christian themed song.
So we established that Nico McBrain is a born again Christian, right? We know that.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think we must have been saying this at some point tonight.
Mm.
Old rich white guys who play rock music. It's like somehow they all end up at Jesus. So I don't know how many of the guys in Maiden are at that, but that sort of that explains it to me, like why this song exists.
Mm.
It's just weird. I don't have I don't have a problem with Judeo-Christian lyrics. Obviously, like it's a monstrous religion, and
Yeah.
I think, like I was saying in a previous episode, there's like a real problem with evangelicals in the country that I live in.
Yeah.
But I like Trouble. I like Black Sabbath's God songs. I don't have a problem with it, but this one is like so fucking corny. It sounds like
Yeah, I know.
it sounds like a tape, like a pastor would like give a kid and be like, check this out. And it's so silly.
How would you compare this song to like Where the Wild Wind Blows? Like that's a much better song, right?
Yeah, a much better, and that's a heartfelt, inspirational quote kind of Maiden song, but it just
Mm.
doesn't feel like I'm literally at church. And look,
Yeah.
this song is 9.5 minutes. Like, stack up Hallowed Be Thy Name. What's the Dune song? To Tame a Land.
Well,
Power Slave, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, Alexander the Great,
yeah.
Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, Fear of the Dark.
Yeah.
Like, so much happens in all of those songs. They're like, they justify their length. I don't know what happens in this song. It just goes on and chugs and chugs.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it. Well, you remember when we did the Final Frontier? I had that hurdle of Mother of Mercy and Coming Home. But
Yeah.
eventually, I kind of got over that hurdle. There's after the greater good of God. It's not over yet, right? We've got like the Lord of Light, and then the Legacy. And fortunately for me, they're right at the end, and I just could not get into either of those songs, and I didn't actually even make any notes about them. For me, the album finishes after the greater good of God.
I wrote for Lord of Light. Wow, a real riff. And that I think I was referring to the first riff that comes in after the long intro, that every song has a long intro.
It's just for me, the way I've gone, I've got up to this point. I'm done, by this point. So
well, for a minute I was like, oh, this song's gonna go somewhere, and then it just goes nowhere. So the interesting thing is the Legacy I didn't love, but I heard a really pronounced Jethro Tull thing going on. There was a lot of acoustic bits.
So, yeah,
and then there was kind of like this very like theater kid kind of like almost operatic section.
Gers Harris composition.
Yeah, I bet those guys were trying to do a Jethro Tull thing.
Makes sense.
But then the song just kind of like it just ends. It's very weird.
It's another long one. It's like 9 minutes 20 seconds.
Yeah, it is. I just can't fathom. There's so little variety, even just compared to the 5 albums that they've done with this 6-piece lineup.
Yeah,
there's so little variety. There's seems to be so little, like, just different textural elements in the song. Everything sounds the same in every song always. There's like, we have 3 guitar sounds that never change. We have the drum sound that never changes. We have the vocalist who always sounds the same and is like they all sit the same places in the mix. There's a clean guitar sound for the clean parts, and there's an acoustic guitar sound, and that is the only variety for 70 minutes. I understand Iron Maiden, like, it's kind of a Ramones thing where it's just an on and off switch. There's not like a lot there's not a lot of layers to it, but that works a lot better on a 40-minute, Number of the Beast or Somewhere in Time than it does on a 70-minute album like this.
Yeah, so I think our journey with this album is not the same journey that we had with The Final Frontier, which was really rewarding experience for
No.
both of us.
I will say I hated it less than the last
Well,
time
there
I
you go.
tried to listen
And,
to
I
it.
did find
That's a step.
I did find a few bits and pieces that I liked, but after we've done this episode, am I going to listen to this again? Probably not very much. Whereas The Final Frontier is getting a lot of play.
Yeah, I want to get back to that, man. I've been listening to this crap all week. I don't know. It seems like this album appeals to a certain kind of fan, maybe a certain age of fan.
Right.
I think probably like your Trivium and Catatonia fans out there might find a little more in this thing because they really like that epic structure. This is absolutely not for me.
Okay. So, what's it to be? Bearing in mind, I'm not going to overthink thinking about what's coming ahead. So I'm going to.
There's a 5 from me. I would say this is their worst album with Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah.
Possibly their worst album, period.
Interesting.
I don't know for sure yet, but that's how I'm leaning right now. We'll see how I feel about Angel and the Gambler in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Things might change, but putting that aside, this is episode 6. Episode 7, we're going to be looking at a piece of.
Wait, what's your rating?
5.
Oh, you also said 5.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
5. Yeah.
Okay, 5's all around.
5. Yeah, 5.
So wait, yeah. Then next we have coming. Oh, we have a good bill coming up.
Peace of Mind, followed by
Dance of Death.
Dance of Death. That's going to be a couple of great ones.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I've got my Dance of Death vinyl. I've got my Peace of Mind vinyl, of course.
Yep.
So
excellent cover art on both of those.
Absolutely.
Just great looking.
So, everyone, once again, hope you enjoyed the episode. We had a good time. We drew swords a little bit on this episode, maybe for the first time. A few disagreements.
A little bit, but not too bad.
Nobody got hurt.
No.
We're here to live another day. So, until next time, thanks for tuning in. And there should be no ads in this video, so don't worry about that. So, stay healthy and stay clean.